Welcome! The following is a video walk of Yorkton's historic Old Town Centre. Please match the camera movements to the best of your ability while remaining aware of your current surroundings. This tour isn't only about Yorkton of the past, it is also about you, in this moment, experiencing Yorkton as it is here today. There will be pauses and directions in the form of checkpoints. This tour may be accompanied by an interpreter. However, it can also be experienced on an individual basis. The Pioneer Ways and Bygone Days guidebook can also further enhance this experience. Please take the tour at your own risk. Thank you for your support. Enjoy! The year is 1912. Yorkton is bustling. The town is experiencing what many refer to as its golden age. The two railway companies running through Yorkton, the Canadian Pacific running east-west, and the Grand Trunk Pacific running from south to north, are setting the stage for Yorkton to become a major distribution and trading center. Yorkton's location of being approximately halfway between Saskatoon and Winnipeg made it a prime location for shops and development. Thus, the Massey Harris Company decided to build a branch. At the time of the building's construction, the Massey Harris Company was the largest agricultural equipment manufacturer in the British Empire. In 1924, the company would build a freight shed to accompany the main building beside us. They held a dance on opening day to test out the new maple wood floor. Please pause the tour and resume after crossing. Once known as the smallest service station in all of Canada, it is currently the home of Scoops. While we're here, we can view the mural painted by Madison Blackstone, entitled Ice Cream. Yorkton, originally known as York Colony, was founded in 1882 by the York Farmers Colonization Company of Toronto. It was first settled by pioneers from Ontario and Manitoba, as well as the British Isles. Yorkton area lies between the boundaries covered by Treaty No. 4, which was signed in Fort Qu'Appelle in 1874. The original site for Yorkton was 4 kilometers north of here, on the banks of the Little White Sand River. Yorkton made its move to the current location after the Manitoba and Northwestern Railway extended its line west of Saltcoats. On January 9, 1891, the first train pulled into this new site for Yorkton. It would remain the end of the railway until 1903. On a related note, local roads were not always in the best of condition. Many would travel by train to reach events in the surrounding area. Sometimes called hockey specials or whiskey specials, the Canadian National and the Canadian Pacific Railways had special trains chartered for games and events in the local area. Nowadays, to take the train within Canada is considered a luxury, and the rails are largely dominated by freight trains. For years, people would gather and watch trains as they come and go, with crowds still gathering in the 1940s and 50s. In 1910, the Canadian Pacific Railway had 2 trains leaving daily. However, the romance of the rail is long dead, and many residents consider the tracks going through downtown to be a hindrance. Be sure to watch your step. Before you is Betts Avenue. For decades, it was a hustling and bustling commercial street. Teams of wagons, men on horseback, cars. It would have been an amazing sight to see. Originally built in 1935 by Peter Petrovich Verhagen, before you stands the building that was once the Blackstone Hotel. Folklore says that Verhagen built the hotel after being banned from other hotels within the city due to conflicts over poker games and parties. It has undergone a variety of name changes and has housed numerous businesses since. Verhagen was the son of a major Doukhobor leader. Please pause the tour and resume after crossing. Originally on the corner of Broadway and Back stood the Cushion Block, built in 1908. It was occupied by the Success Business College until Boxing Day of 1926, on which the block burnt down. Later, in 1951, most of the buildings on this block would be engulfed in flames. The existing building has had a number of owners over the years. Some of the businesses that have been in this building include Sally's Shops, the Metropolitan Store, the Red Apple Store, Lunch Counter, and Sears. Also, originally on this stretch was a little white house, the home of Jacob Walters. Records show he had a cow worth $30. After the fire in 1951, Norman and Ray Kroll erected the building on our left. The store sold both ladies and menswear. At one point in the past, the home of George Betts stood on this corner. He was a homesteader who came to Yorkton back in 1890. Later, in the 1920s, the building that now stands on this spot was erected by M. Rothstein. The building has housed many businesses over the years. Perhaps the most well-known for being the home of the Corner House Restaurant. Please pause the tour and resume after crossing with the lights. Once upon a time, this was the location of Betts' livery stable. It was later the site of the Carnduff building, as well as Mac's service station. Slightly further down the block from where we are now was the location of the Roxy Theatre as well as the Bank of Commerce. The Roxy Theatre was built in 1929 and it was demolished in 1964. This block has definitely seen a lot of change. Here are some films that may have come to the Roxy in the 1940s. Cover Up, Citizen Kane, and It's a Wonderful Life. The small building beside the Roxy was Henry Beck's Ladies' Wear. The following is a plaque dedicated to Edmund D. Wind, recipient of the Victoria Cross. He worked here for CIBC prior to World War I. The London Gazette had this to say about him on the 13th of May, 1919. His valor, self-sacrifice, and example were of the highest order. Now, the jewel of downtown. Welcome to Hudson Square, number 19, Broadway Street East. The Hudson's Bay Company opened shop in Yorkton in 1898 And in 1912, they built the beautiful building you see before you now. The store was described by the local paper as palatial, a word here meaning spacious, luxurious, and splendid. The cream terracotta building reflects the traditions and history of the company. It is an Edwardian interpretation of classicism, originally adorned with lamps across the rooftop. The gargoyles watch us from above. The massive building you see before you is the Dunlop block. We will learn about it in a moment, preceding the following checkpoint. Thank you. With the second addition to our left, down 2nd Avenue, erected in 1912, the Dunlop block is huge and expansive. In the early years, the block had one of 2 rooms available to the Travelers' Aid Society. The society saw to women and children traveling alone, picking them up at the station and providing them with safe shelter. Beside the Dunlop block is the building that once housed S.S. Bear's hardware store, as well as the office for the Scandinavian Canadian Land Company. As we continue down the block, we approach number 37 Broadway Street East. During Prohibition in 1915, many turned to prescription alcohol to serve their ailments. Take note, prescriptions containing alcohol wouldn't have been as strange then as they would be now. For those who would have dealt with the Spanish influenza during those years, it was a blessing. One such prescribed remedy was a dandy bracer, a liver and kidney cure made from sugar, molasses, bluestone 36% alcohol, and tobacco. It is rumored that Dick's cough syrup also contained a hefty dose of alcohol. During the Prohibition, drugstores were the only legal way to obtain liquor. At the back of the drugstore were rooms used for illegal bartending. Customers were encouraged to be quiet and speak easy about the business that went down there. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to see a man about a dog. Beside the drugstore stands the Old Union Bank, completed in 1908. Beside us is a building built in 1909. Alterations were made to close off the second-story windows. Further ahead down the block was the location of Yorkton's First Methodist Church. It would later become the home of the Yorkton Enterprise. The newspaper moved out of the building at one point, but moved back in 1929. In 1955, the Yorkton Enterprise was advertised as the largest weekly newspaper in Western Canada. The town hall used to stand in this general area back from 1905 till 1961. A bell tower would ring at 8 a.m. noon, 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Later, this location would become the home of the Co-op store and the Painted Hand Casino, both of which have moved. City Hall has since moved to its current location, so let's get a bit closer. Please wait until the end of the street before crossing. Welcome to City Hall's current location. In 1992, the city acquired this building for $1. And in 1993, it officially became the new City Hall and RCMP City Detachment Building. At one point in history, that house was the home of Constable Youngett. Further down the block was originally the site of an imposing 3-story building. It is now the home of City Hall Park. The building was owned by the Government of Canada. At one point, it functioned as the post office and later as City Hall. It is still part of the City Hall grounds. Please take this time to explore City Hall Park as you wish. Resume the video by Terry's Pawn and Bargain. There are several locations we will not be passing on our tour today. One of these said locations is the spot of the worst fire in Yorkton's history. We are also missing passing the original home of CJGX. In 1928, the year after CJGX opened, wheat prices were $1.66 a bushel, and it was $25 per head of cattle. Though we won't be passing it on the tour today, Levi Beck's Superstore, now the home of Frameworks, is the oldest building on Broadway. The building was built in 1896. The business ran well until the Depression hit, in 1929. Levi Beck was also known as the town's merchant prince. We now approach Alexander's Menswear, originally the Bank of Toronto. The bank experienced 2 robberies within its lifetime. One robbery happened in 1931 and the other in 1940. The first robbery occurred on Monday, March 30th, 1931. The robber was unmasked, but heavily armed with a powerful automatic revolver. He backed the staff into a corner and escaped with $2,669 as well as 23 cents. The robber, Lyle Gibson, was caught and apprehended in Fenwood. Please pause the tour and resume after crossing with the lights. Thank you. The Bronfman brothers have left quite a history in Yorkton, though most of which they deny. More information on this history can be found in the 2003 publication of The Whiskey Man. The Bronfmans, particularly Harry Bronfman, became very involved in the sales and production of both legal and illegal liquor during the Prohibition era, which took place from 1915 till 1923. This area was originally home to many of the Bronfman buildings. This includes the Princess Theatre, the City Garage, a bank, and several apartment buildings. The liquor store parking lot was originally the home of the Balmoral Hotel. The site is particularly interesting when you consider Harry's history in liquor sales. The close proximity of the buildings made it easy to smuggle liquor in and out of town. There are also tales of tunnels in this area, though no evidence has been procured. Harry was known for being an excellent employer, though some of his employees had some pretty close run-ins with the law. This includes one employee driving a Bronfman vehicle into a haystack in order to avoid being caught by the police. The Bronfmans' involvement in the bootlegging business slowed to a halt after the murder of their brother-in-law, Paul Matoff. This may be why the brothers moved away from business in the province. As we reach the end of our tour, I want you to imagine the hustle and bustle of horses and carts as they make their way down Broadway, the passing of conversations, a Yorkton both familiar and distant from what it is today. Someday, the Yorkton of today will be the Yorkton of the past, and we too will be players in its bygone history. To quote James W. Gardner, "History never looks like history when you're living through it." Thank you.